bring up clip number 8 because I think this is a good place for us to start. This is from churchleaders.com because the reason why we're addressing this topic is Braxton says it's all over TikTok, and there's been a few articles in the last 3 weeks or so on this that I've seen at Relevant Magazine, churchleaders.com, and I think the other one I pulled from was the Gospel Coalition, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this last one from churchleaders.com, I wanted to go ahead and get to this one first because it just sounded so exact opposite of everything.
Hold on, people are still saying they can't hear you. Can you guys hear Pritchett now? We need answers in the live chat.
It seems like they should be able to hear me. I'm seeing levels.
It sure does, doesn't it?
They're saying, okay, it's fixed now.
Okay.
Tim the agent says it's fixed now.
Go on.
Okay. So
sorry, guys.
And
thank you, Jim Manberg, for the super chat.
Yes. Now Pritchett is good. Now I'm good. For all that.
I also want to know from the live chat, did you guys hear anything much that I said at all, or was it just you had to turn it up really loud? Anyway, go ahead, Pritchett.
Yeah, so I'm going to read this. I think it's from churchleaders.com. I don't know if you put the link in the description, but we can later. It says, dating, especially Christian dating, should be fun. That's the opening line. It's all about fun. Not about intention. It's about fun, Braxton. So
That's what they say?
There's church leaders.
Oh.
But you're a seminary leader, so you don't really know anything about church life, right?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I pastored 2 churches.
Why is it so many single Christians for dating is some kind of checklist? Like the one you read off at the very beginning of the episode.
Because this is like the most important decision you'll ever make in your whole life.
An interviewing process. Yeah. Ladies are the worst with the checklist. That's probably true. If you've ever seen my Facebook feed of single Christian women, whatever's on their list is horrible, and you can tell this by the short-lived relationships that they complain about every week on Facebook. Here's a tip, girls. If you have a checklist, look it over. Count up all those necessary character traits, then crumble it up and chuck it in the trash bin because that's where it belongs. So number 9, clip number 9.
You want number 9 now?
Yeah, this is where she begins. Here's her 4 points. First is you matter. He cares about your, and I guess this is he or she, I guess, but I think this is writing to women. He cares about your holiness, and whichever man can help you grow in the holiness department will be on God's list. So
sure.
So that's after it's all about supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I thought we just heard this wasn't a checklist, and now we've heard God's got a list, and I should try to have that list.
Yeah, and it starts with the fact that you matter.
Well, I agree with that. That's why you need to get. That's why I said on my list.
Yeah,
you should get out of the relationship if you know you're not gonna.
Right, but it goes downhill from here. I promise.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, she told us there's no checklist, and now she's like, "There's a secret checklist."
One, you matter.
Okay.
Right.
Who is this, by the way? Do I know this person?
It's a woman who wrote this.
So what's that got to do with anything?
It could help explain why it's so terrible.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, not me.
Right.
I reject all of that. Go ahead, Pritchett.
It's like women drivers, you know. It's
just keep reading. Keep reading.
Women who are sane are not going to be offended. They're going to laugh. Okay. Number 2 is so we're talking about holiness, and now if you bring up the next one, now it goes into
you want a man to ask you out?
Yeah. Then be around and go to parties, hang out with friends in group settings, get to know other single people. And here's the scandalous idea that I'm sure someone will disagree with, but oh well, try flirting. Holiness and flirting. This is where we're at here. I don't mean wear a push-up bra and sit on his lap. I mean smile, be interested, be interesting, ask questions, touch his shoulder, laugh at his jokes. It's like bees to honey, baby.
Wait a minute. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. Smile. Okay. Yes. Be interested. Yes. Be interesting.
That helps.
Yes. Ask questions. Yes. I need to know that it's not all about you.
So here's another list of things.
Yeah, these are lists.
Right.
Touch his shoulder. Touch his shoulder. Is there some literature about that or something I'm not aware of? Like touching a guy's shoulder is the modest way of showing female affection. Is that? I don't know. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Touch his shoulder just seems like Well, it's fine. Laugh at his jokes. Okay. Well, if they're funny jokes.
Yeah, but you say
if they're funny jokes.
But no, you say that they owe you a sympathy laugh during the sermon for one bad preacher joke every sermon, and so
I'm not dating the congregation. I'm in a very potentially awkward situation. Of course, a date could be.
And so they have an obligation to make you feel better. In that, yeah. Well,
I can coax them into it. No, they don't have that obligation, but if I make them believe that and they laugh at my jokes, I'll count that as a win.
Okay.
But now this brings up something, though, awkward situations, because I was actually going to say this at the beginning of my list, was to say that dating, talking about some of the stuff that I raised, some of this Christian religious stuff, doesn't seem very, hot. It's not the thing that people are necessarily interested in when they're dating and all that. I think they should be, but I think laying all this stuff out could be awkward. I get that. But guess what? Dating is awkward in general. Okay. If you're not ready to have some potentially very awkward moments that you will probably remember for the entirety of your life, don't date, because that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, something magical happened to you and your personality and her personality or his personality, but it's going to be awkward. So it's fine that it's awkward to talk about these things. Go ahead and talk about them.
Yeah. So you're okay with this list, though I don't know what kind of ask questions. That's vague.
Well, this is very general. So what was the last one? I thought there was something too general.
Okay, but see, here the thing is try flirting, and in the context of holiness and flirting.
Yeah.
What kind of questions and how would you be interesting in the context?
He's got to grow my, or she's got to grow my holiness. Like I'm becoming more like.
Well, that was the number one thing because you matter. So
I matter. So find someone who's going to help me grow in holiness.
Okay, but then
is what it said.
But then now we're at. So try flirting. If you're, I guess this could go for men too, but this is written to ladies. You
got to flirt. That's part of it.
To try flirting. So you ask questions.
You can flirt PG and you can flirt R-rated. We want PG flirting at this stage. We want any other kind of flirting.
So the shoulder thing
for
is
married
okay.
people for what they do.
The shoulder thing is fine with you.
Yeah, sure.
I
hate to be so like wooden about it, but
so
like, yeah.
20-year-old Braxton, if Sarah Hunter touched your, or what was her, Sarah Waller touched your shoulder, that would have
scandalous. That would be scandalous.
Well, preacher's kid, right? I mean, you would have felt okay. No, it would not have been so far this list when you should replace her list with the list that you threw in the trash.
Be interesting. I don't understand this laugh. I mean, I get it. It'd be nice, and if that includes, but I mean, Miss Mutola had issues with that too. She laugh at his jokes. I gotta laugh. Well, let's begin this with deception, making me think you're a comedian.
If you're not funny, that should be a red flag. I mean,
yeah.
Because if you're telling jokes and no one's laughing,
they're not good.
Yeah, it's just if you're.
It doesn't mean you're not marriage material.
You know what? But dead audience jokes always work on people, so always have those in your back pocket.
Dating does not inevitably lead to sin. God may not be calling you to date someone in particular, but that doesn't mean that He has said to not date anyone at all.
This flies in the face of
God may not be calling you to date someone in particular, but you don't know who they are if He did.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that He has said to not date anyone at all. This is also a camp among Christians who fear dating. They think it will turn into a tempting situation, which it could, or that God hasn't called them to date anyone, which may be true. Is there more?
No.
Oh, I mean, this is just like again, I don't even know who wrote this. Okay. So if you see this, I'm just saying, I don't even know what the foundation for this is. It's like, she's just saying, here's what I thought about this, but I mean, but what's is there a Bible verse?
Oh, this is church leaders. So this is what church leaders, this is from churchleaders.com. Okay. So that to me is just, well, God may not call you to date anyone, which my language on this is like being called to the ministry, this whole calling you for stuff. This is just evangelical language. It's not, I don't know. Seems like just
being called to date someone.
Yeah. Tim the Agent says, I will thank you for the super chat. I will never acknowledge flirting because the risk of misinterpreting signals is too great. The potential cost is too high. Yeah, and in the 21st century, that's very true.
I never acknowledged flirting because number one, I'm married, but number two, I don't have to worry about it.
No,
Because
but when you were dating,
I know. Oh, well, with my date, I mean, but I take this to mean, well, the bottom line is I don't ever think flirting is happening toward my direction. So if it was happening, I wouldn't acknowledge it because I wouldn't believe it was there.
Oh,
but if I did know it was coming, I wouldn't acknowledge it either because I'm a happily married man. Now, here's the problem. Sometimes people are just nice.
Yeah.
And I'm a nice person. And so I end up talking nice to nice people, male, female, young or old. And my wife has said to me before, that what you just did there, you were being real affable and everything, that could come off as flirting. And she wasn't upset. She's just telling me, like, for my information. Yeah. But I'm like, come on. Being nice to people in society is flirting now? I've flirted with everyone in Evansville.
Is that because, wow.
If it's just being nice to people.
And clip that one out, fellas.
Yeah.
Share that on. I flirt with everyone in Evansville. Yeah, I don't really understand the calling thing doesn't make any sense to me. But and I do realize that some people, you may desire or decide that you want to remain single and celibate in your Christian life, and that's fine too. I guess she's tipping the hat at that idea. But as far as just this doesn't really line up with your be intentional thing, because it's like, well, even if you don't feel called to date anyone, doesn't mean you're not supposed to date anyone. So go date.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to someone who uses that language in their Christian experience, because in their head they kind of have worked that out so that it makes sense of what is going on there. But I will just say, I don't really know what you mean when you say called to date.
Yeah.
Do you strongly want to date? Do you strongly want to have a partner in life, a spouse? Well, then Paul seems to think that means that it's like you're better not to burn in the flesh, right? You know, so I mean, I don't know what that means. If there's a compulsion in you to marry and have children and that the whole thing, then that's a wonderful thing. And I'm not saying that any particular person. Like, here's a good question: the New Age to Jesus Diaries, who I think last week was the first time she was with us, said, "Do you think God calls some women to be single?" It seems to me in my reading of text that there are men and women who God wants to be single.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think the general thing is, hey, go out and serve the Lord with your life. And usually that includes, for adult men and women, getting married, starting a family, and raising up children that, I mean, blessed is the man who has a lot of children, right? Yeah. And the Bible talks about it as these children are also arrows that you're going to fire upon the enemy. And so blessed is the man whose quiver is full of those arrows. Yeah. And so I think that the general approach is that you should, but there certainly are, the Bible seems to teach, there certainly are people. And we know from experience, certain people that it seems like there's some sort of a special gifting or calling on their life with singleness. Jonathan?
Yeah, I was going to say, Paul seems to think that it's okay, and that Jesus seems to think and affirm that there's going to be people who just avoid married life, because there really is only two statuses on your tax form, and in reality anyway, which is single and married. We call it dating because there's some sort of intimate connection with people, but that's not you're either single or married. So to use the generic language of vocation that Paul uses, the word called in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the calling to which you are called, that refers to any station in life. Mm-hmm. That's otherwise Paul's using technical language with the calling language. So calling there in 1 Corinthians 7 is just, everyone remain in the calling to which you were called, is a generic word for whatever your status in life and vocation is. And so you are always either single or married, right? When you're dating someone, we have a category. I mean, there's a category for engaged or betrothed or whatever, but I mean, you're on your way to marriage. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you're single. Mm-hmm. And if you're dating someone, you're single.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, one of the things go ahead about that.
And that's why I agree with your intentionality statement, that if you are trying to pursue marriage, that's the only reason to date in the first place, I think.
Well, New Age, Jesus Diaries, glad this is your third week.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to say about this before is
and
marriage.
I hope to be going on her channel soon. So
Oh,
I've got
cool.
an invite to, yeah.
Marriage, in the biblical context, is a covenant that is made publicly, and people know about this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes in the Bible, you see someone where it looks like maybe there's just a couple of people present and somebody else there, or they go into a tent and marry and all these kind of things. But the understanding is that the people in your life and in your community are aware of what's happened. They are aware of the pledging of the dividing of resources and all of these whole things. That's why it's a covenant and not simply a thing we decided to say in the car one night when we were kissing. Okay, that this is what actual marriage. You're going to make a covenant before God and before others and before your family, and this is a big deal. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to say at the end of my list that you don't need to feel like just because you made some promise, because you were a dumb teenager or had some particularly poetic language spring up into your mind about being together forever, that somehow this means now you are pledged in the eyes of God forever to this person.
Yeah. So number 11 is her final statement here in this article. Dating does not inevitably lead to marriage. Many people refuse to get a cup of coffee with someone of the opposite sex for fear that sipping a caffeinated beverage is a precursor to chapel bells and flower girls. Just because you went on, as in singular, date with someone does not mean that they're the person you're going to marry. Very true. And if they think you are their future spouse as a result of one date, run away and quickly. Well, that's not very romantic. You wouldn't want to marry a kook like that anyway. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe I've read too many books or seen too many movies, but there's a slight possibility that there's this.
That you fell in love when you first met him.
Yeah.
And that it was real and that's going to be a healthy relationship.
Well, hang on, I need to finish reading that.
Well, okay.
I didn't finish reading that. All too often, believers over-spiritualize dating and try to turn it into some kind of holy act. Well, that's probably true. It's a date. Boy meets girl. Boy likes girl. Girl likes boy. Boy asks girl on a date. Simple. Overthinking it leads to discontent single people who wonder when and where the right one is, instead of going on a date to actually find out.
Where did you get this? Relevant Magazine?
It's church leaders.
I get that there's so people from this generation overthink everything.
Well, and she concludes her article by saying, go out and just date and have fun.
Here's the problem, though, is yes, I don't want to be the guy that says dating, you shroud it in all these rules and then you suck all the life out of it. And now I'm scared the whole time I'm dating that I'm going to do something that offends God or something. Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be like that. Okay. Yeah. If that's the vibe we're trying to give, it should be fun. It's just that you're not there primarily for the fun. You're there on my advice to find a spouse. And so that will involve having fun and going places that are fun. But that doesn't mean that's why you're there, is to have the fun. And what I don't understand is people who, in an attempt, I guess, to soften it all up and say, hey, we're not legalists, so go have fun dating. What I want to pull back from is this really is like the most important decision you'll probably ever make, aside from, for us, salvation or spiritual decisions between God. This is like the most important earthly decision you may ever make.
Going on a date?
No, who you're going to marry.
Yeah.
And dating for me is the ramp up to finding that person.
Right.
And so I don't understand treating it as it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal because people tend to bond, and some people bond really quickly with each other and end up in a relationship now that never was a good idea.
And the purpose for Christians to date should be marriage, right? I mean, for everyone. There should be no, I just want someone to pay for my dinner if you're a woman, or I want to have arm candy if you're a guy, to keep me company. That just superficial reasons like that should never be a reason for anyone that's a Christian to date. Mm-hmm. That's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I agree with you again that the intention should be to find a spouse. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, save your time, save your money, save your energy, and to spend all of that on the Lord if you're not interested in marriage. But also, I think part of the problem is you can take this idea of sifting through so many potential candidates that you're just wasting a lot of time there as well.
Yes, and here is the advice I would give with respect to that. Maybe I have 20 bits of advice, but the piece of advice. What was the last thing you just said?
About going through so many potential candidates, you just kind of
you can love. You know that whole love the one you're with, not the one. What is this? Love not the one you loved, the one you're with. Something. Love the one you're with. Whatever it is.
Right.
You know, there is some truth. You can, despite that we live in a world, for all its scientism, that wants to act like love is this magical, like beyond. The truth is, you can love the one you're with. Mm-hmm. That's why if your marriage stinks and you're like, well, I'm not really in love with them anymore. Well, you're not in love with them, or you don't love them. Like, in love sounds like maybe a feeling based thing.
Yeah.
But you can treat them with love. Yes. You can do good toward them, and
affection even.
You can get to the point of affection with them and have a good marriage. Obviously, unless there's certain disqualifying things, like they're constantly sleeping around with you or abusing you or other things that may be even less than that on paper. But the point is, you can love that person in many situations. So if you did get married young and you're like, well, I got married too young, I should just get a divorce because maybe there's someone better out there. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten married, but you're married now. You're married now.
Yeah.
Is it God's will that I'm married to this person? Well, it is now.
Right.
But that brings up it is now. A Calvinist might answer this by saying, well, whoever, that's what God's determining hand, right? But Irenic wants to know, I know this stream's about dating, but why are Calvinists so awful? Just kidding. Sort of. Love your ministry. And here's another one while we're at it. Getting ready to have
name. DeForest. I mean, that just like
you love that every time.
DeForest Kelly, man. He's a McCoy. I mean, what a name. That's
well,
grumpy Southern man's name. That's awesome.
Well, he says, getting ready to have the talk with my girlfriend's parents in a few months. Excited but nervous.
Oh dear.
The talk. Well, I won't ask you further questions unless your parents watch Trinity Radio. But I'm assuming that's the big talk, and we'll be hoping all goes well there.